Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Mr. Burris.
Coming to the, I don't want to have both hands here. Dante? Sure. Thank you for coming to the press conference that we have scheduled here. My name is John Burris. I represent the family of Mario Woods. I'm also here with a collection of community leaders. A collection of, the mic isn't working?
We can hear you. Go on.
I'll shout.
We can hear you. Go on.
It is working.
Yeah.
Okay, I am here on behalf of Mario Woods' family. I'm also here as a representative of the community of San Francisco, and behind me, as part of this press conference, are various community leaders from San Francisco, many of which whom will speak as well. And we are here and call this press conference because our grave concern about the recent communications of racial epithets that have been set forth here in San Francisco by various officers, in our view, represent a culture of racial bias that exists within the department. We're outraged by the most recent statements that were generated or widely publicized in the media regarding a particular sergeant who made derogatory statements, N-word statements about what he would like to do once he moves to the Bayview station, which is a station where the officers from Mario Woods came from. And so from our point of view, enough has not been done to weed out this mindset and culture that exists within the department.
Right.
So as a consequence of that, we believe and we are recommending that the chief must go.
That's right. Crisis in confidence.
And the chief must go because all of the negative statements, all of the racial epithets that have occurred, and all the various killings that have taken place have all occurred on his watch.
That's right.
And so it is hard, it defies logic and common sense for us to accept the notion that he is the one that should lead the charge in the reform efforts. Because even after Mario Woods, there have been at least 2 statements that we know of. Venture statements coming from officers, all of which should, if the chief was on his job and was making the kind of reforms that he claimed to have made, they would not have happened.
That's right.
But they have happened.
That's right.
And so from my point of view, he must go.
That's right. That's right.
Secondly, we are concerned, and very much so, that enough has not been done in the area of reform. We know recently that the district attorney put forth a select committee and they made various recommendations. Some of those recommendations should not be pie in the sky and done at some later point. They should have been done yesterday. That's right. The most significant one from my point of view is the whole issue of stop data, and that is the racial profiling. The racial profiling occurs in neighborhoods where black men and white, brown men and women, if you will, are being stopped without probable cause. They're having their cars searched, they're being handcuffed, and if they don't like it, they wind up in jail, and they have their entire records, in fact, called into questions. The department has never made any significant effort to gather reliable data. That is by choice, because they do not want us to know that there is, in fact, statistical data that would support the fact that racial bias policing does occur in the city and county of San Francisco.
Right.
And if you don't get the data that's reliable, you can always have a point of deniability. And that, I think, is what's taking place. And so the question of accountability and transparency are significant issues that should be, in fact, be part of what takes place now. This cannot be done by the present chief. At the time of Mario Woods' demise and outrageous shooting and killing, we wrote a letter to the department, my office did, to the Department of Justice, as well as what others have done, the ACLU, the mayor's office, making a request that there be an investigation regarding pattern and practice as to the level of policing, the constitutional policing that takes place in San Francisco. The Department of Justice essentially deferred and sent that off to cops, which is also a part of the Department of Justice, and then they are making their own particular efforts. We do not and have not believed that was sufficient
That's correct.
enough.
That's correct.
Because there was no teeth in it.
That's right.
We recognize that Bryant Davis and his men and women at COPS want to do the right thing. They want to identify the various problems that exist in San Francisco, and they have done so by earmarking them. But the problem on it is there's no enforcement mechanism there.
Right.
So as a,
just take one step back.
there's no enforcement mechanism. So as a consequence of that, it is our belief that we should, in fact, ask and encourage the Attorney General, Kamala Harris, to come to San Francisco.
Yeah.
And she should engage and conduct an investigation into the department to determine whether or not there does exist this pattern and practice of constitutional improper policing that we do believe exists in San Francisco. And so to that end, we have prepared a letter that we have sent, that is being sent to her today, that basically requesting that she, as the top law enforcement officer in the state, come to San Francisco and engage in a kind of investigation to root out, first to identify and to root out the kind of cultural biasing that exists within the city and county of San Francisco Policing Department. So it's very important to us that she, as a former district attorney of San Francisco and now the Attorney General, she has the authority to come to San Francisco and do the kind of work that is necessary, that is absolutely necessary to root out the kind of unconstitutional policing that takes place.
That's right.
We recognize, and we're very much offended by the level of force, excessive force, that is used against members of the African American and Hispanic communities. There's been a recent shooting of the homeless man several weeks ago, an outrageous shooting where this man was shot a number of times. He was number of times, but he was unarmed. And we also know what happened to Mario Woods in the shooting in the back of over 21 times. And we also know about Alex Nueto, who was shot at over 50 times.
Right.
And so there are a number of cases that are taking place, and every one of those cases, the police department has justified that shooting by playing certain things. Every shooting cannot be justified. And so from our point of view, something must be done. This, in our view, is a golden opportunity with the nation watching, with the community concerned about it, with the mayor expressing concerns, and various members of the city board of supervisors expressing concern. This is an opportunity for San Francisco to step to the plate and take a clear, personal look at their department and engage the kind of reforms that can make this a department that we can all be proud of in the years to come. So that's where we stand here. Those are our comments, my comments from now, and I will allow other community leaders to step forward to make their comments.